Well, good morning, Karen, and good morning, guest.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
You see, I'm holding
This
my hands
is,
here.
I know.
We're in the Tower Suite at Danford's this morning.
Yeah.
And I did this for our guests because our guests are close to God and Jesus.
That's right.
And we're as high as we can be
High as we can be at Danford's.
That's right.
for a reason.
Our
you know?
fabulous sponsor.
that's
We love
great.
Danford's.
Thank
We
you.
feel lofty and we feel blessed. And
Amen.
Right.
I'm so glad. I've never really honestly had a guest in the ministry, so I'm excited. So thank you for being our guest. Pastor
I
Matthew,
appreciate it. Thank you.
his wife Tanya.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good. How are
And
you?
Robert, the administrator.
Thank you.
So how did you learn about the Port Jeff Pulse? We're always interested because we are new, you know.
I came across it on Facebook, and I saw Port Jeff.
I'm just gonna pull this back.
That's where we're from. We're from
Perfect.
Port Jeff.
Yeah.
A local radio to get our ministry's word out. I had to contact you. I just had to see if we can possibly be on your show, have the opportunity, and you welcomed us, and I was so grateful.
Absolutely.
here you are.
You persevered, and we made it happen.
Yes, fantastic.
So tell us about your ministry and how it's related to Port Jeff, the community.
Gateway Ministry is a ministry. We have our logo. It says all things to all people because we want to make sure that everyone knows that they're all welcome to come, no matter their background, religious background, all welcome to come and worship God with us. And Port Jeff is a significant town because people from all walks of life are in Port Jefferson. People from upper middle class to down and outers to people that are transient, that are here through the summer, from out of state. And it is truly a town that's all things to all people.
Yeah, that's nice. So you don't delineate, I think is a word. Everybody's welcome.
Absolutely.
And you are the pastor for, well, are we calling it a ministry or a church?
A ministry.
It's a ministry.
Yeah, we're hoping to open a physical building. Right now, we're meeting in the Village Center.
Which is awesome. It's right here.
It's
Absolutely.
wonderful, though.
How often do you meet? And just run me through what somebody would experience there. I mean, are they encouraged to participate? Do they listen, or both?
It's both. We meet every Friday night at 7:30 p.m. in the Village Center, and the guests come in. They're greeted by Robert, my wife, and at that she does do talking over there on Friday night. She's acting shy this morning, but she does talk. She greets the guests, and Robert appreciate them. And we have a topical study to which I teach, and I encourage participation. If someone has a question, they stop me, and we answer it because I like to look at things from different perspectives too. I've been a pastor now for 8 years. And in ministry for 21 years, so I'm still learning myself. So I really appreciate the participation and the vantage points that people can give me.
Wow, that's awesome.
In all the 21 years you've been doing this, what have you noted about people and the world that has changed? And do you feel that, I'll be blunt, that people need more of this? Are they hurting more? Are they needing to gather in a place where they can sort of exalt their feelings and pray or whatever it is they do together? Are you finding that to be true?
Yeah,
More so than
absolutely. It's 21 years. I started when I was 1, so I'm 22. But what I've noticed over the years is the need has become more obvious to people. I think the needs have always been there, and even going back to the Bible ages, people always had needs, but I think now it's more recognized. And I think, with the world the way it is, with all the things that we encounter now, with just things going on, with terrorism, fear that people have, just so many different topics I could go on about. The need is there to know that they have a need, and they're at that point now where people are seeing the void that's in their lives. People from all different backgrounds I've encountered in 21 years, people that have had nothing in their life to people that have had millions of dollars in their life, and all have come to me and expressed that they have a need in their life to be loved by God. I think in this day and age, people are tired of judgment being cast against them, and they're just at the point where they just recognize that there's a need to be loved
and accepted.
and accepted. Absolutely.
Have you ever had the occasion of, I'll be honest, there was a period where I went to a ministry because I did have a need. I felt that some outside forces were kind of playing with my head, to be very honest. And maybe it was in my head, I don't know. But there was some things that were happening in my life that were not so nice. And then I felt that need. And then somebody helped me through it. And I found it comforting. I did. Do you find that? But it should be a lifelong thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a lifelong process. As I said, I started 21 years ago. I was only 20 years old at the time, and I was a kid in college. And I'm still in the process of rediscovering who I am and who God has me to be, and it's a lifelong process. Our message this Friday is actually conversion and the process that happens after conversion, after coming to that point of believing that there is a God and believing on Jesus, that he takes you through a lifelong journey of discovering things about yourself so that you can love others as you accept yourself, and just a process of learning, which is a beautiful process.
I think the word surrender comes up, right, with this process, right, where you're surrendering what you think you have power on, and then surrendering to a higher power so that you actually can live a more fulfilled life. I know that part of it that I've actually learned, and it's good. You know, you come to learn that.
Or living a godly life. You know?
You can live a godly life, but then not everybody trips.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Everybody trips.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sinners.
Oh, yeah.
We all.
You trip?
I trip all the time. Hey, that's my thing. No, I'm just joking.
So now I see.
I need the church.
Yeah,
Robert keeps it real.
he does. He's
Yeah.
You're a living example. Is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
no, I got saved by Christ. I was in a real bad way and came out of pure hell, and I got saved. I needed him, and I'll always need him.
How long ago was this?
I got saved 11 years ago, and I got, in my view, got tricked by the devil again. Got lost in drugs and a lot of bad stuff.
Yep.
And I came through again fairly recently. This is all fairly recent. It's been like a miraculous journey only the last few months. I lost my wife 2 years ago, and
Robert, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Very sorry.
Through prayer and meditation, she really always had a deep faith in Christ. I feel like she brought me back to Him in prayer.
Right.
And I found the Lord again. And Matt's always been there, never let me go. And we found each other again and worked together with the ministry.
Because she was nudging you and pushing you along.
Absolutely.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
She was going like this.
She's amazing.
Robert. Hey.
She is my angel, and Pastor has always been consistent friend and great guy the whole time.
That's
and
awesome.
Now we're helping each other, and God's always helped us together.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Tanya, what could you say about your husband's work? What do you see time in and time out about his work with the community and people?
I've seen persistence with him, as well as I've seen him just reaching for people and helping people along the way and encouraging people. And I really admire what he does, not only, with the people that he works with, but outside of the things that he'll do hospital visits. He'll visit people that might have a need for something, and it's just an ongoing thing. It's not something that you could stop at 5 o'clock and say, "Oh, I'm done and over with."
Right.
But it's a 24-hour thing where someone could call him up early in the morning, and he would be right there for them in helping them.
He's like that. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's consistent, and that's a big word because, some people you look at and they're like, wow, they got the life, everything's great, and then tragedy does happen, and it does hit their life. It happens all the time. We read about it dozens of times a day. So if you have that consistency through there, when you do get hit with that hard time, you're ready, and maybe you experience it.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I commend you for that,
Thank
for
you.
being that person in our community.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
That is so awesome.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, he's great.
Cameron, what do you think?
I listen. I mean, with what's going on right now in this world,
Well, let's talk about that. Is the world a worse place, or are we just hearing about it more? I'd love to hear your opinion on social
it's
media.
true.
My opinion
Your
about
true,
social
deep
media?
opinion about how social media is affecting the human race now.
I think it's affecting it in a positive way. Unfortunately, the media tends to glorify the negative things. But we were just talking about this morning, actually, Robert, my wife, and I. If it weren't for social media, I wouldn't be connecting with half my family members, my cousins, the distant relatives that I have that watch my sermons as my wife live feeds me through Facebook. If it weren't
Yeah.
for social media, I wouldn't be connecting to other ministers around the world that I can encourage. Because physically, I can't be in every place at once, but through social media, within seconds, I have access to encourage hundreds of people at once.
Potentially millions, yeah.
Like anything, it can have a negative impact. Like just like when books first were printed, they could have a negative impact. But I do believe that technology is of God because God gave somebody the mindset to do this thing called social media that I didn't even know about 15 years ago. That God had to give somebody wisdom to create a tool that can be used for good purpose.
So I'm going to go.
Interesting.
I'm going to go a little bit deeper with you. Do you think because the advent of technology and the information age and having everything that we think is already right there on our phone, is that making people more ungodly? Are they thinking the answers are here and nowhere else? And I know that's a deep question, but I wonder if, as a whole, and answer it honestly, because I know you're standing for exactly the opposite of what I'm asking. Have people as a whole thinking? I'm not saying they are, but thinking they could be detached from God because they have all the answers here.
Even
if it's what's the word when it's even if it's subconscious.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's a good question.
Absolutely. And I think it can take away from the faith realm a little bit because I'll give you a small example. If years ago, if I went to Italy with my wife and we didn't have the gadgets that we had, I would have to walk the streets and rely on God that I wouldn't get lost or in a potentially bad neighborhood. But now if we go away on vacation, I can use my Siri to find my way around. So I'm maybe not calling on God myself as much as I could to rely on him on things that now could be right in the palm of my hands. And I do know in the church, it's kind of like escaped physically reading the Bible because people are looking at their
Have
phones.
it on there, right,
Which
on your
I don't
iPad.
have a problem with. I'm all about modern technology. I mean, I had the iPhone 7 the day it came out, literally.
You see, I like what you're saying. You're embracing the positive aspects of it right away. And see, because he's positive. You see, that's just that simple. He's positive, so
Right.
he's embracing the positive aspect.
Exactly.
But I think as a whole, the question I'm asking, worldwide, as a society, have people falling into a subconscious ungodliness because they think that, again, subconsciously that they have their world here and they have all the answers. And how could I get mixed up in this thing called God? I have all the answers.
Yeah, I believe that's the case, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that through that, though, God will reach out to them and use the people that are on social media to put something just the right time that will reach people that are in that place. But I think people feel empowered now. You can run your business through your social media. You could do so many things that you didn't have to do the old-fashioned way of
easily.
relying on, leg power to get your word
does God
out.
have a Facebook page? No, but I mean, it'd be very
Yeah.
easy if he had a Facebook page. He would just reach
Absolutely.
everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, he reaches through us and people that have to be obedient
Right.
to do what he wants. People that have to be obedient to embrace the times that they're in and work with the tools that they have.
That's a good point.
I am a pastor of 2016, I feel, and I'm a very modern pastor, and I try my best to embrace what's going on now, because although the Word of God didn't change, the times have changed, and the tools that I have are very different than people of 2,000 years ago, and I have to work with what I have.
I have to tell you, I think the Catholic Church is losing people because of this, because when you go to church today, particularly younger people, 13, 14, 15 years old, how could they not be a little bit, I hate to use the word, but bored or not engaged? Let me use that.
Right.
And you, again, have embraced that.
Not engaged.
Not engaged. This is something that happened 70, 80 years ago, and it's the same exact thing, and we're not in that world. So even if once in a while the Catholic Church brought in a speaker to speak more to what's exactly happening, somebody like yourself, actually, that I think would make all the difference in the world. To make people want to come to gather, because that's a good thing.
Yeah.
To gather in community.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And we have to be conscious of the times that we're in. Even my wife and I, we talk, my messages tend to be shorter because I recognize that the attention span is shorter now because of social media and the busyness that we've created for ourselves in life. So my sermons tend to be shorter, but they are impactful. Shorter, but impactful.
Right.
And I think you have to, again, embrace the times that you're in and know the pulse. Is, not to...
Amen, brother.
know the pulse of what's happening.
Yeah, I love it.
And
Yeah,
be
great.
in the trenches of what's happening.
Now, do you embrace, or are you starting to embrace all platforms? Like, for example, do you do a 15, 20, 30-second sermon, for lack of a better word, on Instagram as an example? Or will you consider
we do,
that?
Actually, absolutely. My wife, we've just started the live feed on Facebook.
I like that, yeah.
And I was talking about Snapchat. I'm open to everything.
That's
reach.
awesome.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
It is.
Well, because you know what? I mean, Pastor Matt, can reach maybe the teenagers they were all on Snapchat. My son, who's 14, his
you're right.
entire school is on Snapchat. They're
Really?
all on Snapchat.
Wow. I
Right.
finally became old.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
But the
finally-
downside is that once you view Pastor Matt on Snapchat, then it's gone. You can't see it again once
Yeah.
you open it up, which
Right.
stinks.
Right,
At least
right.
on Instagram and Facebook, you can go back
You
and
can
like
go
look
back.
again.
Yeah, it's
Right.
archived
Darn.
in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So on this next event you have, October 14th, which is Friday, right?
Yes, this Friday.
So how long is that? And give me an example. You greet the people? that
Yeah, I
come
greet
in?
the people. I do the opening.
And
prayer.
anybody's, they don't have to pre-register. They just come in. So let's tell people in Port Jeff about this event.
Well, we have it every Friday, as Matt said, at 7:30 at the Village Center.
On the third floor?
On the well, it's with the floors have been changing, but it's generally been on the third floor. We just exit in the lobby when you get there at 7:30.
Okay.
They'll be happy to tell you. And I do the opening prayer, and Matt just takes over with the topic. The topic's posted on either the meetup ad that we advertise.
So what's the topic this Friday?
Conversion, change after the encounter. So it's about the initial encounter with God, with Christ, and then the change that's a lifelong process. And I'm going to be speaking about the Apostle Paul from the Bible, but I'm going to tie it into my own life and the lives of us modern day people about what we're struggling with right now, myself included. I like to tell people, I like to be transparent with people and tell them I am a pastor, but I'm also a human being also. So things could happen. I could fall short sometimes.
Absolutely.
I mean, being from New York City, I'm into a fast pace. So if traffic doesn't move as quickly as I want it to be,
What do? You curse?
no, not exactly. But it could rise up within me. I'm not going to make it. But frustration could rise up. I could yell at somebody. My wife, that's why my wife likes to drive like that. She says I drive too much like I'm from the city, but I can't help it. I was
You
born
know,
in
that's where it's
You have to drive fast.
Exactly. But
funny.
the point being that, you know what, we all can fall short in different ways. It could be attitudes that we have, it could be anger, it could be just different emotions. And that's why I say in every message, thank God for his grace.
Amen.
Right.
I'm no different.
Right. So
Matt's taught me a lot about grace, and I'm finally starting to really get that lately. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
we had heard a little bit about Robert's testimony. Do you have a testimony that you want to share, or maybe your wife, about kind of how this all came about?
Well, I didn't grow up in the church. I was born in the Bronx. My dad at the time was going to college, and his goal was to make a success out of himself and to take his family from the Bronx and move them to the glorious suburbs of Long Island. I was the firstborn grandchild, and when I was born, it was a miracle birth because I wasn't breathing at birth, and this will tie in later on. So the doctors had to give me.
Did you have an umbilical cord tied around your neck?
No, I was in my mom's belly so long that I just came out blue, and they just had to take immediate action, and I almost died during birth. So as we grew up in the suburbs of Long Island, my father became a very successful businessman. He became a CEO of a company, and he was just making a lot of money, and I had everything that all the kids in school admired, and my cousins admired me. I was the firstborn grandson, firstborn son of the family, and I was spoiled rotten by every relative, and just came through life just taking things for granted. But at 20 years old, I was coming home from a club with my friends, and I couldn't breathe. And God immediately spoke to me and said, if I didn't give you air in your body, you wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
I have a purpose for your life. And at that moment, I turned my life over to Christ. And from that moment on, the passion for ministry just consumed me, where I was just plugged into a ministry. I was raised up as to be a youth minister first, and then a pastor, and now a senior pastor of my own church. And it's just been a consistent road, and this is 21 years. Have there been bumps in the road? Absolutely. I've gone through things, situations, but it's always been consistent to rely on God's grace, taking me back to that moment where I realized that I needed him for my life, and I still need him.
Good question.
So young.
Yeah. There's
He's
always
so young, and have so much wisdom
Well, it's
at
great.
such a
Yes.
young age.
Yeah.
That's because it was God's calling. That's why.
Just we need to have him back when he turns 50 and see what this man has accomplished.
What is your goal?
My
What
goal
goals?
is,
What would you like to see happen?
well, I have twofold goals. I still have a regular job in the workforce. I'm a manager at a company, and my goal is to be a well-rounded man, to have success in my workforce, have success in my marriage, and have success in my ministry. To be a well-rounded person, to represent Christ in every area of my life. Because in each area of my life, Christ is there, and God is using me to help others in every area. And I want my ministry to grow in its influence of touching lives and reaching people from all walks of life, no matter their race, background, age, and to be that person that's encouraging to whosoever comes into my path.
Do you watch today's media and wonder where Christ is?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Or at least where Christ is in those people's that are in the media's lives?
Yeah, more
And-
so there. I know where he is in the sense that it's all about choice. And he's there if people choose to
Right.
call on him and rely on him for the wisdom that he
Free will.
offers. Free will, exactly. So although I know he's there, the question that I have is where's everyone's free will? What are they thinking sometimes? Instead of throwing dirt at each other, how come people can't just come together and realize the common goal in the media? To pray for our world, to pray for our nation.
That's got to happen. What do you think, Robert?
I think he's right on. He's on to
Yeah,
something. This
right
guy.
on.
He's on to
onto
something.
Wow. Well, it's great. Thank you for coming, and
Thank
we will
you.
promote today's event, of course, but also Friday's meeting and every
Appreciate
week.
it. Thank
Is
Fantastic.
there anything else you wanted to add to the conversation, Robert?
No, this is wonderful.
Since
to
you
be
made
here.
this happen?
Yeah, no, wonderful being here, and this is videotaped. I
Yeah.
just had questions about,
You have technical questions?
I have technical questions. Do we get a copy of this? How does this work?
Yeah, sure. This is yours.
Oh wow,
This is yours. We're going to give you a copy of it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
thank you.
that's
We'll edit me out, but yes.
no.
No, it's been wonderful. Thank you
This
so
is
much.
this is
Thank you.
fantastic. Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, Port Jeff Pulse. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
for
Great,
joining
thank
us.
you.
Great show.
you.
Good
Thank
meeting
you.
you guys. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Good
Take
meeting
care.
you.